Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so we're going to begin our 10:30 weapons demonstration. To start things off, we're going to have Mr. Ramirez pop off around. It's going to be a little loud. If you have sensitive hearing, please cover the ears. Yeah, we got to have you all on the other side of the rope, folks. Pardon us. Okay, so once again, folks, we're going to have Mr. Ramirez pop off around. It's going to be a little loud, so if you have sensitive hearing, please cover the ears. Ladies and gentlemen, so we are the living history staff here at the Alamo, and we're going to talk about or discuss and demonstrate, I should say, the primary firearm that you would have seen used in this siege and battle, and that is the smoothbore musket. Now, this is a soldier's weapon. Now, if any man joined the regular army during this period and he's placed in the line infantry, this is the weapon he will be issued. And these are what we call smoothbore, flintlock, muzzle-loading firearms. Well, what does that stuff mean? Well, flintlock, that is the ignition system that fires the weapon. You have a piece of flint held in the jaws of the cock. That strikes a piece of steel called a prison. It actually scrapes it open, exposing the gunpowder. When it scrapes it open, it develops a spark, just like flint and steel does. So the spark will land on the gunpowder, and boom, that discharges the weapon. Now, the thing is you have to rely on the flint. And the flint must maintain a sharp edge in order to create the spark. Well, every time you fire the weapon, you're wearing down the flint. So they average 1 in 7 shots of the weapon not going off. And you may see that in this demonstration. It does happen. Now, muzzle loading, what does that mean? That means the gunpowder and ball must be pushed down the barrel to load the firearm. So these things take a little bit of time to load, and everything is one shot. Now, smooth bore, what does that mean? That means that there is no rifling in the bore of the barrel of these firearms. So the barrel of this is a pipe, is all it is, really. Now, what is rifling? Now, rifling is a series of cut grooves, there's usually 7, that were cut into the bore of the barrel and they twist. And what that does, when you shoot the lead ball, and it's all lead ball this time, it's going to grab that rifling and impart a spin on the ball as it exits the barrel. And a spinning ball is going to go straight and give us a greater range. Now, the more common type of rifle you'll see out here on the Mexican frontier is a civilian hunting rifle. Okay, it's commonly known as a long rifle. Those have a range between 300 and 400 yards. Okay, they were very accurate. And that would be the type of weapon Colonel Crockett would have had. Men coming here from Kentucky, Tennessee, Georgia that are showing up and helping this war are bringing their hunting rifles with them. The problem is loading, and with any weapon, again, they take time to load. But again, the soldier's weapon, the musket, is not rifled, it's smoothbore. So again, it's just a pipe. Now, when you fire a ball without a patch with this weapon, the ball is actually going to rattle down the barrel. Whatever end it strikes on the muzzle as it exits, it's going to go the opposite direction. So to prevent that, soldiers would have paper cartridges. It has ball and powder in it, and the paper of the cartridge is the wadding. That will prevent the ball from rattling down the barrel. Okay? Now, when the ball comes out, because it's not rifled, it's just flying out there, the ball, after about 75 to 100 100 yards, it's going to begin to turn, much like a knuckleball does in baseball. Up, down, left, right. We don't know where it's going to go. So if we hit anything beyond that range, it's going to be by pure luck. Now, to make up for the inaccuracy of this weapon, we need the men in a line, and we have them all fire together at once in mass volleys. Okay, doing that, we're going to hit more of the enemy on the battlefield, but they're doing it to us. Same thing. So the battlefield of this period is about speed of loading. That is why we use this weapon over the rifle. Okay? Now, because of the rifle farm, and again, everything's muzzle loaded, because of the rifling and the bore of a rifled weapon, it was really hard, very restrictive, driving the ball down the barrel. In fact, you have to pound it in. So loading a rifle can take a minute to load one shot. That's the downside of rifled weapons. They take way too long to load, but the upside is its accuracy and range. Well, the soldier, the trained soldier with the musket, he must load this under 20 seconds. So we should be getting 3, possibly 4 shots a minute with this, compared to 1 with the rifle. And as I said before, the battlefield is speed of loading. If you can fire more lead at your enemy, you're going to drive them off and take the field. That's more important. Now, the morning of this battle, we know that all the men in Alamo, all of them, had several muskets and or rifles loaded next to them that morning. They're just bragging and firing. Now, you do have different types of muskets used here. This is a 1795 Springfield. This is the first one produced for the U.S. military out of the Springfield Armory in Massachusetts. It began production in 1795. Now, in 1800, as the next armory opens up at Harper's Ferry, Virginia, they're manufacturing this same weapon. And they both made this firearm until 1815. Now, this first model is patterned from a French Charleville. They copied the French pattern because we weren't going to copy the British. Now, starting in 1816 is when they start making the first American standard pattern musket, which Mr. Galasso has. That weapon would replace this one. And again, that's the first American-designed musket, so that would be known as the standard. So every American-produced musket after that is patterned from that firearm. Okay? Now, of course, by our time, these are surplus weapons. The Army's no longer using them. So, now, the more dominant musket you're going to see here is what Mr. Iannicelli has. He has a British Brown Bess. Now, this is the weapon that the entire Mexican Army has. We know that every defender within these walls, those spare muskets they had were British Brown Besses. They're just grabbing and firing as quick as they could. That is a 75 caliber British weapon. It shoots a 69 ball. These American models are 69 caliber. They shoot a 64 ball out of them. Mr. Ramirez here, he has a Spanish escopeta. So he's representing the Tejanos that helped fought against the Spanish or the Mexican centralist government. They're joining us on our side. There was quite a few of them in the Alamo. A lot of them would have had these leftover Spanish firearms. It's more of a carbine version. It's suited for men on horseback. And that's a 62 caliber. It would shoot a 58 ball out of it. Okay? Now, we need to know how to load these things. So we need to know the 12-step drill, military drill of loading. So we're going to start the men at order arms. We're going to tell them to shoulder arms. Now, this would be the most common way of carrying the weapon on the march. If you are infantry in the line, the weapon goes on the left shoulder. Now, we're going to tell the men to load in 12 times. Load. Open, pen. Handle, cartridge. Now, the cartridge is a paper tube. It has ball and powder all rolled up in it, so it's all there. Now, these are crimped over, and the only way you can open it is to tear cartridge. They would bite off the end of it, spit it out, and prime. So they're going to pour gunpowder into the priming pan. We then tell them to shut pan and cast about. Charge cartridge. They're going to pour that remaining gunpowder down the barrel. With the ball and the paper, they wad it up and stuff it into the muzzle. And we have to drive it to the breech. So we'll tell them to draw ramrod. And ram cartridge. So they would sling it in, pack it tight, return ramrod. Shoulder, arms. They bring the weapon to the left shoulder, which then tells the officer that they're loaded and ready to go. Okay? Because these men cannot fire until the officer tells them to. But it can be difficult to load it in that time frame because you are being shot at, however. So, about, face. So we see them at that left shoulder. We know the last 3 commands of ready, aim, and fire. Boom. Shoulder, arms. We go to the shoulder and we do it all over. Okay? The man on the end over there, that is our drummer. He is very important. And he's not just used to keep the men in cadence during the march, but he's used on the battlefield because it can be so loud with muskets, rifles, artillery going off. The men at the end of the line cannot hear the commands, but they can hear that drum. So he is relaying the commands to the men in the line. Now we're going to fire 3 volleys. The first shot will be done in the 12th step. The last 2 will be done in the quickest time by the drum. So again, folks, it's going to be a little loud. If you have sensitive hearing, please cover the ears.
Cover the ears if you want to, because it's going to be loud.
It's not loud.
No? Okay. They are covering their ears. You see?
Squad. Unfix bayonets. Shoulder, arms. Squad. Load in 12 times. Load. Open hand. Handle cartridge. Tear cartridge. Right. Shut hand. Cast about. Charge cartridge. Draw ramrod. Ram cartridge. Return ramrod. Shoulder, arms. Fire. Ready.